Hello, hi, I'm Dom and I read and write and I talk about it here on the internet. It is the best season of the month, almost. It is almost fall, and that must be celebrated in many, many ways. If you did not know, Starbucks has its pumpkin spice latte out, so you can run and go get that. And if you feel like sitting in, then let me tell you about some fall books that you can bring with you. Now, I think I've only talked about this on TikTok, but I try and turn September into Witchtember and read as many witch books as possible. So I'm going to start by recommending some great books that are witch-based that you can too read and possibly in September or Witchtember with me. So the first two books are In the Company of Witches and When the Crows Away. This is the first book and this is the second book, and they follow the same family of witches who run an Airbnb. Now this is a cozy mystery. The main character in the story is a medium, so she can see ghosts, and she uses that ability to help solve the mystery of their murders and help them pass along. The vibe of these stories is very much so Practical Magic meets Gilmore Girls. It's small town where everybody knows everybody, and it's two aunts living in a home with their niece. So if you like either one of those things, you will absolutely love these stories. And I hope and I wish that a third book comes out, because in the second book, things are just about to get started. So I need to see the continuation of this story. But even if you don't get the third book, these two books are amazing to read. They're short, they're quick, they're fun, and they'll definitely get you into the fall season because they have things like fall festivals and fall moments that'll definitely have you in your feels. So if you are looking for a cozy mystery that just happens to feature witches, I definitely highly recommend these two books. The next book I'm going to recommend for a witchy season is A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I'm pretty sure the second book has come out following the main female character's best friend, but let's talk about this one. So there's a witch who is trying to get better at her magic because she is absolutely terrible. And while trying to, I think, bake or cook something, she ends up summoning a demon and tying herself to him so that he can't leave unless she gives him her soul. So, of course, you can't just walk around with the demon and everything's okay, especially because demons are very much so frowned upon in this magical community with magical creatures. So she tells her family that he is her boyfriend, and that is the reason that he has to go everywhere with her, because the magical tie that binds them only lets them be so far away from each other. So they are glued to one another through this entire journey. So I would say that this is close to the scope of being cozy. Not a lot happens in the first half of this book. It's really about the development of the romance, but towards the end things get a little bit more crazy and adventurous, and I think that's just the perfect way to push into, I think, the second book, which I'm going to be reading this year, because it follows her best friend who is very much so kick-ass, and another demon who honestly shows up in this book, and that's all I will say. Okay, so the last book I'm going to recommend is Witchful Thinking. So this book follows a witch, and she is very timid. She hasn't really gone for a lot of things in life, and she's held herself back from really accomplishing the goals that she has. So she casts a spell with her family, which ends up resulting in her not being able to say no. So no matter what people ask her to do, she can't say no, which gets her into a lot of predicaments, but also helps her grow as a person. One of the people she can't say no to is Alex, who is a merman. He's back in town because his parents bought him a house and he's trying to renovate it, and he needs help figuring that out. However, Alex is a nomadic soul, so he does not like staying in one place for very long, but maybe, hopefully, actually, she convinces him to stick around. This is a great romance with a lot of magical creatures inside of it, and it also has a small town feel to it that'll definitely make you wish that you lived somewhere like Halloween Town, where everybody is just like something amazing and you get to experience their world. So that's the last book for witches that I would recommend. I read a few more last year, but they weren't my favorite. But if you're looking for something about witches in a sorority surrounded by non-magical folks, then I would definitely say check out The Ravens. It was like a 3-star read for me, and I don't think I'll pick up the sequel, but it was very cute and it had a twist to it that was a little unexpected. It was very much so almost dark academia, so if that's your thing, then I would definitely check that out. Moving on to fall romances, I don't have a lot for this because I'm not gonna lie to you, when I think about romance, I think more about summer and spring and like the freshness of like life and earth and things growing and just like sunny days sitting by a pool. So there's not a lot of romance books that I've read that particularly are fall themed, but I do have 2 to recommend to you. So the first one is You Again, which is like a retelling of When Harry Met Sally, but reversed. The girl is more like Harry and the boy is more like Sally. And it adds a specific dynamic to the story that's really interesting. The main character, who's the female, whose name I cannot remember right now, she is the non-committal, jumps from relationship, not too sure where she's going in life character, while the main male character is a relationship guy who's constantly putting his self-worth in the relationships that he's in, and he's just very much so connected to his career and his goals in life. And it starts off with them thoroughly disliking each other because they are both dating the same girl, and so slowly over time that dislike turns into like friendship and then eventually kind of love. This book moves through all the seasons, but it does have a very fall cover, as you can see, and it has some very fall moments. So I would still recommend it for this season, especially because of the setting of New York. It introduces a lot of restaurants and specific things that are strictly New York that incorporate well into the fall season. The next book, I don't even know if I really classify it as a romance. There's a romance subplot, but the main plot of the story is more so mystery / thriller, but the romance is good enough that I'm just gonna call it a romance. But that is Dreadful Splendor, a book about a girl who is a medium. She kind of runs this like fake job where she convinces people that she can speak with ghosts and then kind of like runs them out of their money. She gets caught and put in prison, and this man comes and offers her a deal where he wants her services of being fake to convince the guy that he works for that his dead fiance has passed on and is in a better place. Of course, it's not as simple as showing up and pretending to be a medium and changing his mind. It's also about the ghosts that live in this home that are haunting everybody in it. And so she has to not only contend with the people who live in this home, but the mysterious things that are happening while she's there that are making her question whether ghosts are real or not. It has a lot of great moments of mystery, and I would say it's not the easiest to guess, at least for not me, because I'm bad with mysteries, but you might figure it out. But it has, even if you figure out what's going on, you don't figure out what's going to happen towards the end of the story. And that's the most interesting point of the story. Now, of course, fall is not fall without October and horror books. So I just got into the horror genre and I want to talk about my favorite ones. I definitely think if you are into teen slasher movies, then you have to check out these following 2 books. The first one is Clown in a Cornfield, which follows a group of teenagers as they are being slaughtered by a literal clown while being in a cornfield for a party. It has this little twist towards the end that makes this story so much more deeper and political than you would actually believe that it is. And that aspect absolutely made me fall in love with the story. And 10 out of 10, I will recommend it again and again and again. And I am so excited to read the sequel this year because I can't wait to see where the story goes after everything that they've already been through, the main characters. But if you're looking at something that is definitely Jeepers Creepers. If you're looking for something that is definitely Jeepers Creepers mixed with like Scream, this is the perfect book for you. Another book that I'd recommend that's like a teen slasher is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. This is a great queer horror book that follows a teenager as she works at a camp that is meant to mimic a summer camp where people get murdered. It's one of those experiences where people can sign up and pretend for a night that they're a part of one of those like serial killer movies where they're being stalked by masked men. Just unfortunately for the people who are working there, that fake story becomes real for them. And it's one of those ones where they have to survive the night. This book was the first horror book I've ever read, and it tore my heart out because I was so sad by the murders. Which I know if you're watching a teen slasher or you're reading a teen slasher, people have to die. But I just liked the character so much that I was absolutely sad when they were being picked off. And the main character, Charity, who is in a relationship with a girl, is kind of the protagonist that we follow throughout the story in hopes that she becomes the final girl. The next horror book I want to recommend is also a queer horror book, which is Camp Damascus. I think I talked about this in my June read because it was one of my Pride reads for the month, but I really enjoyed it and I think other people should read it. So it's about a conversion camp where kids are sent. However, the methods that they use are to another level. And that results in these children who survive the conversion camp being haunted in a way that is unexpected. The story follows a young lesbian girl who doesn't remember that she's a lesbian because of this conversion camp and her journey to kind of undo or work through the work that the conversion camp put her through. This is absolutely terrifying because there's a certain level of reality that exists in it. Like the idea that conversion camps actually still exist in a lot of parts of America makes this seem more plausible than a lot of other horror books would be. There is an aspect to the story that takes it out of reality a little bit, but for the most part, you can see something like this going down and you could see the justification that a conversion camp would have to put these people through this type of thing. But it's a short read. The print is big and it's only 200 and something pages, so you can blow through this in like a day or two and it'll absolutely be worth your time. So my favorite horror book of last year, which is absolutely fitting for September, is The September House. So this couple by accident bought a haunted house and this book follows their attempts to navigate it. September is absolutely the worst month and so many things happen, and the main character, the female, the wife, her husband gets absolutely sick of it and he leaves, but now he is no longer answering phone calls. So their daughter comes into town to to investigate his disappearance. I think what I really liked about this book is it explores ghosts in different contexts. It explores ghosts as this physical, supernatural thing that exists in a house, and then explores ghosts, this metaphorical thing that permeates relationships. And I think if you are a fan of In the Dream House, then you would absolutely enjoy this book, and you should definitely read it in September so that you start worrying that your house might do the things that this house does. The last book I'm going to recommend, I think that everybody and their mother has already heard about, and most people have read it, but I can't not recommend it, and that's The Final Girl Support Group. That is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This is, once again, another great story if you like teen slasher horror movies, as it follows women who had gone through different experiences that mimic the type of horror movies that we've seen. Now, while they are trying to heal and gain closure from that horrific experience that they've been through, somebody is targeting them again. So now the final girls have to see if they will survive and be final girls once more. Great exploration of horror movies as a genre and the obsession that we have with serial killers and mass murderers to the point of almost praising them or worshiping them, and how that can be dangerous for society, which I think a lot of people need to think about, because the way people reacted to that Jeffrey Dahmer show coming out and like how hard people stand him, like they were calling him Daddy Dahmer and stuff, that was absolutely insane, and I don't think that was okay, and this talks a little bit about why that is not okay. So those are the books I would recommend for fall. If you have your own book recommendations for fall, definitely put them below, because I'm going to try and read as many fall books as I possibly can, including horror and romances and witchy stories. So I want to know what your favorites are so that I can check them out. But thank you so much for watching. Let's celebrate the best season of the year and get cozy and drink apple cider and just talk about books, because this is the perfect season to sit in your home with a nice warm drink and just read. I hope you have a great day, and I hope your next book is a 5-star read. Thank you.